Excellent. So first order of business that I had, were there any changes to the agenda? I know it went out late, but if anybody had any thoughts? No? Good. Okay. I had, Thomas Road, the Belial subdivision. We got the 239 review letter back from the county. And we scheduled a public hearing for that project tonight. Can we open public hearing? Or I move to open the public hearing. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is open. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak about the subdivision on Thomas Road? Lyle subdivision? No. Not seeing anybody. Is there anybody on Zoom?
If you're in Zoom and wish to speak about the Thomas Road subdivision, raise your Zoom hand if you would.
They all have their.
Yeah, I think so.
No hands.
Thanks, Jesse.
Okay. All right, I guess
I move that we close the hearing.
close the hearing. Second, all in favor? Aye. All right. That public hearing is closed. We need to, the last thing that we would need to do for that project that I have, is a secret declaration. They submitted part one, because it was a short form. We should be able to go through this. There's 11 questions if we just want to run through it quickly. And
Part two.
yep, this would be the part two. And indicate anything that might be of moderate or large impact. And if we don't find anything, then we can declare a neg deck. And potentially close out the project. The proposed action, create material conflict with an adopted land use or zoning regulation.
No.
No. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
Not that I know of.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? And I will just remind us that we're talking about a subdivision, so it's just literally breaking off a lot, parcel to build on. There's no plan to do anything with it yet. It would be sold just as is. Will the proposed action impair the character and quality of the existing community?
No.
No. Will the proposed action have an impact on environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure of mass transit, biking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation and renewable energy opportunities? No, not as is. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies, public or private wastewater treatment facilities or utilities?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character and quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in natural resources? No. Will it affect the soil anyway? Not being land the way it is now. I mean, it's land, so I don't think so. Whatever's proposed on the land in the future, right? Who knows? Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No, no change from as it is. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
All right. So with that understanding, no to all those questions on part two, then I would move that we declare a negative declaration, a negative impact for the project. Second, in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes, let's to. And then I think we just basically fill in part three as part of our resolution. Maybe not at all.
I think based on your answer, it's just
Yeah,
checking.
I don't think we have to.
yeah, just check the box.
Okay, second part.
Yeah,
All right, so subdivision, we've 239 review, we did public hearing, neg deck on seeker. Unless there's, is there any other discussion we'd like to have on this project?
I think that if we're gonna adopt a resolution to approve it, I think we should state in the resolution that there are no site plan materials supplied when we're approving this. So that whatever project comes forward that requires site plan, they would know that we haven't approved anything. Like impact on water
Right.
and.
As far as any
driveways.
buildings, any
Right.
infrastructure.
Right.
Yes. Right. I agree.
The one question I have is, it's in the ag rural district. Right? So the way development units are apportioned in the ag rural district. The total acreage is divided by 3, and that gives the number, so. It's just, important that we document how the development units are distributed between parcels as they're divided. It's the owner, the current owner of lots at the time of passing of the zoning law. They have the discretion over how those are distributed as the lots subdivided and then each. So I'm assuming this is one development unit assigned to this parcel. That,
I don't think it's been clarified. I don't think the owners probably understand that.
yeah,
And so maybe that needs to be.
how big is this parcel? I
Because
forget.
two acres.
Yeah. So let me sort of explain that for people. So for instance, I have a 25-acre parcel. And if you divided that by 3, I could have 8 units of 3 acres. And if I was to sell somebody 10 acres, I could say to them, I'm selling you 10 acres and that can be split once again. I'm selling you so that it could eventually be split twice in half of 5 acres each, or 1 acre and 4 acres, or whatever. But I am then retaining 6 for my piece. And that has to be told, and you get to keep track of that.
Does that convey through the deed?
Yes, it should.
Like yeah, whatever the units
Yes,
are conveyed through the deed so that
Right.
they then know how to compare it in the future.
Right.
Somebody might sell it 50 years from now.
exactly.
And
So-
depending on how good our records are in town,
And they should be really good.
so we want to retain a survey map for the clerk, and then a survey map that has to be submitted to the county by the applicant.
but the survey map doesn't usually include.
No.
Right,
units.
we need to indicate on it what the.
Right.
Mark, you and I were talking about minor subdivision versus major subdivision. And one of these properties is divided into, it says like B2 through B6, but there's no B1. So I think they're just 5 lots. So that would be a major subdivision.
That's right. Yeah, so that's a different subdivision, but yeah. Correct.
This is under 3 acres.
This
so
one
it'd
is-
never be able to be.
Yeah, 2.77 acres is what they're subdividing on.
Right, and so that's fine, because the average is above, it's the average of all lots, so has to be 3 or more.
Right.
So you can have a lot, that if you get water and septic on it, that's 0.8 acres.
Right.
That works as long as the average.
So the owner might be deciding to sell this as 2, but we don't know until the
Yeah,
owner makes that
he's-
decision.
He states in his letter to us. He says the project scope is for a 2-lot subdivision with no current plans to build on the proposed subdivided lot.
Okay,
As previously stated, this lot will be offered for sale in conjunction with a planned sale of the entire parcel in the spring of 2023.
Okay.
If the potential buyer decides not to purchase the proposed subdivided lot along Thomas Road, it will be listed as a separate, for sale separately as a building lot. So I think he's very clear.
That
Okay.
does say a building lot, yeah.
It says a
Right.
building lot.
Right, it's a single one. But you're saying he could,
he could,
in theory, but of course you
Right.
gotta have
Oh, he's made his intentions.
the right, yeah.
Right.
There's other, yeah,
I
zoning
mean,
requirements.
it has to get recorded.
Yeah, okay,
So I think that's something important for the review board, every time there's a lot subdivision, to make sure in the agricultural district only.
Right.
That the distribution of development units is recorded on the map.
But that is the vast part of the town, is that right?
Right.
So,
So process wise, I'd like to suggest that the zoning officer be the one that gathers that information and not have the review board drag it out of the applicant. That's part of the whole process of submitting.
it should be on the form, it would be good to have it on the form.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that we shouldn't be trying to define that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, we can put it on the application.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's right.
But
The application's
Yeah.
good, and then because I'm assuming the zoning officer is the one who's documenting it for the town,
yeah,
hence
he
then the
has to do
committee.
everything.
So then if that. I guess if that, it just goes on the actual survey that we need to, I
Right.
need to
We need
stamp,
to see that
and yeah, we need to see it.
to approve it.
I mean, I guess in this case, we could approve it with that condition. Well,
It can be added. You
Yeah.
can put that with the condition that
Right.
the owner has made his intentions very clear. That it's a lot. One.
right. I'm still not clear on how many units that is.
What's the total lot size?
2.77.
It could be 1 or it could be 2, or it actually could be 3, which would be crazy, as long as you can get a sewer and a septic
Septic
system
and well,
and well on
spread
it,
apart enough
which
and. have
currently
enough
the
road
Department of Health won't tell you where to put them unless it's at least an acre. You have to
Right.
then, if you were trying to do it on 8/10 of an acre, you have to go find a civil engineer of
Yes.
some kind who will tell you where to put them. And if it will work.
Right,
I would say if we put the caveat that I originally suggested.
Yeah.
Then if the new owner decides they wanna put 3 houses on there, then they're gonna have to go through the whole process. For subdividing, cause there will be subdividing,
Right,
right. That's true.
so we've made no approval for the subdivision.
right.
Future infrastructure.
And as people are selling, they may not be aware of this. It's something they're gonna have to learn.
Well, and that's what I,
Right.
yeah, I assume it's gonna be an educational thing. As the application comes in,
Right,
it's a good opportunity for the zoning officer to be like, okay, this is what needs to, these are the things you need to think about. You let us know what you want as far as the units for this lot, and for this lot, if there's more than one.
Right.
So that when we get the materials, the information's there.
Yeah.
So do we have a motion to approve the project with the caveat that future infrastructure is not being approved
Mhm.
and still needs site plan approval?
So it wouldn't necessarily need site plan approval.
Oh,
Right,
right, that's true. Right, that's true. That's true,
But I think the statement that we haven't approved any infrastructure is correct.
right, okay. Future infrastructure is not. Okay,
Yeah, I think what you're approving is a subdivision of property
Right,
for a buildable lot, for buildable acreage.
Mhm.
So that's,
We're making a lot.
so we approve the subdivision of the buildable lot. With caveat of future infrastructure is not being approved. This
That's your motion,
is my motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed? Great. All right. That one's approved. Before we jump into the other subdivisions, which would be nice, let's do the public hearing and stuff for the solar project. Does that work?
I move we open the public hearing.
All right, I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Is there anyone here from the public to speak about the solar projects?
We're doing-
76 Road?
We're doing seeker,
No, we're doing, what? We're doing a public hearing.
for seeker on the solar project.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Well, why couldn't it?
Because we have not even started the site plan. the
Or
solar law,
subdivision.
Or subdivision.
We're gonna
We
do,
need to do this first.
okay, yeah.
correct.
Yeah, so is there anybody here to speak on the solar projects? Anybody online?
No hands on Zoom.
Okay.
I move we close the public hearing.
I will second that.
It was very exciting, but I just can't take that much excitement.
All in favor? No,
No, fortunately,
okay,
I just have one thing, I don't know if now is the time, but I would wholeheartedly ask the company, and I would wholeheartedly ask Mark as our supervisor. I thank you, I haven't read the letter yet, but since this project was brought to in front of us with the idea that Town of Caroline residents were gonna be first come, first served on the electric. I wish, since it's changed, that if there's anything that you can do to maybe grandfather that, or anything that, Mark, you could do as a supervisor to get that, because that was a great asset to the town. Well, that's all, I'll just ask that. Thank you.
Changed, what changed?
The Public Service Commission passed a new, I'm not sure if it's, I wouldn't say it's a law, but a new program, which is called Solar for All,
Statewide,
Right.
solar for all.
statewide solar for all. But it's not clear from anything I've read about when it goes into effect and how it merges with the aforementioned thing that we were working on. So that we thought that was what we were gonna do. So that's the letter that's gone off to the state senator, the state assemblywoman, and the PSC saying, this is what we were trying to do. Can you let us know how this now works?
So, if I can go, yeah, so as far as we understand, there is a process that any solar project seeking incentive with the state through the New York Sun program. Previously it had just been, you hit several of their maturity metrics of having a down payment with utility, having local approvals in place. And you could qualify for what's called the New York Sun incentive for a certain amount with respect to your project. So that, once you pass those certain thresholds, you apply to NYSERDA and you're able to reserve an incentive for your project that will be available only on completion and years out. What we understand now with the statewide Solar for All is that similar to just the conventional New York Sun program, there is a reservation made at that time that we enter into NYSERDA's New York Sun program. So that's how we understand it, but obviously if you're reaching out to your
Yeah, we're just asking, because I couldn't find anything online that was clear about any of this.
Understood. Yeah,
But,
I mean,
yeah, they're
that's
just,
how we understand it, so that we.
Right.
It was passed that effective immediately, but only two projects that have not yet qualified to New York Sun, but
Right.
I hope,
they
I
just,
hope the interpretation comes back how we understand it as well, but
I was pretty strong saying that, we were interested in this project. One of the prime reasons that we were interested was because of this. And so what's up? And also maybe if they have made this clear, they could like publish something besides a press release. Just saying.
worthwhile.
How long does it usually take for something like that to get a reply?
From our own elected officials, I would think that we should hear something within a week.
Okay.
From now. Yeah. I mean, I used to do that work and there's no reason that it should take longer than that. So.
Can I ask another, I might not, I don't think I'm understanding it completely, but so. Under this new program. It wouldn't be able to provide incentives or provide first options for local residents. And it would incorporate your solar credits with your NYSEG bill, in this case here. Is that right?
Yeah,
And would it affect past solar, any past community solar? Is it to integrate all solar with the utility?
so it is passed for forward-looking, like effective immediately, but for forward-looking projects, right? So that future projects that are gonna hit that maturity milestone, they will qualify for this different mode of billing and provision to customers.
It's all been interesting questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but past agreements that people have or companies had with the utilities are still. in place,
Yeah, so
I would assume,
I could,
because you can't just change all that.
yeah, I mean, I think hypothetically, someone could, if it was convenient, they might. I gotta think this through, but if they terminate or allow their current agreement to lapse with an outside provider, and then they just raise their hand up to NYSEG and go
Right.
there, that to me seems like a quick way to drain out all the customers from the third party people, so I guess I haven't thought deeply about
Maybe,
what happens with that, because
yeah, because the third party could have two people left that are.
that's not
That's-
tenable, so I think I probably have some level of additional understanding I need to get on what happens with the old projects. So, thank you.
Can we close the public hearing then? I think there was a second.
Yeah, you,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Close the public hearing. So, as far as, there was a response from the county about not having a SWIP as part of the original materials that were sent to them. Has the draft since been sent to Soil and Water and
I think Bob did that.
county?
Yes. That happened today, so.
Okay. So that was sent to them for review. I know it's 300 and something.
350.
Yeah.
Who's counting?
All right, so that was sent to them and to Soil and Water. Was it also sent to Abigail, the city?
At the county.
At the county for, as part of the 239 review, or do they just rely on Soil and Water to do that?
You sent it to Abigail too,
I
right?
sent it to both.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so they'll figure it out. Okay. We're waiting on that.
So have you seen a response from DEC about seeker?
Yes, Yeah, so my review looked similar to what I presented to you folks about the required permits that go through them, you know, the Harrier, the SWIP, water quality that I think DEC and the Corps will collaborate on. I think it's technically Corps, but the DEC will have an option to.
You saw the note about the freshwater wetland that you need to resubmit after January 1.
I'll double check.
Anyways,
Yeah.
just making sure you're aware of that.
Yeah, there is a rule change coming in January 1. I'll double check that. I
Yeah,
understood we
plenty of time, but
qualified.
We're just putting you on notice.
Yep.
With that letter.
So as far as this project, the other things I had for us to discuss tonight were the subdivision. Because subdivision
We
application
need to work to a neg deck or
on
something
the, on
like
the
that.
seeker.
So do you wanna continue to focus on seeker or move on?
It's up to you guys. We can focus on seeker.
I think we should,
Okay.
I believe.
because then once you've decided that we're gonna do a neg deck or whatever we're going to do, then you can move into the rest of the process.
Has everybody had time to read over the draft part 2 that was submitted?
Yep.
Questions, comments, discussion? I personally, I appreciated that you didn't just mark everything as not, no impact. And that you did impact, actually indicate where there is impact and try to explain why and how you're dealing with it and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I definitely appreciated that.
I had a question, it's more on the form than on your response at all. On question 6, is where it talks about an impact 5, or is it within one, sorry, let's see, where is that going?
You want,
I'm trying to have, I don't remember question 6.
Oh, question 9, I'm sorry, anyway, I have the wrong number. It says there are similar projects visible within the following distance of the proposed project, and it has a certain number of distances, and then the last option is 5+ miles. And I just don't understand what that means. Does that mean within the township, 5+ miles?
What is 5 miles away?
This is a static
Oh.
process.
Visible, similar projects visible, visual impact. Within a certain amount of area, so question 9. So.
Off the top of my head, I thought the question was whether there are other scenic resources within 5 miles of the project, not similar projects within 5 miles. Am I misremembering? Can you just read the text directly to me again, hopefully?
So impact on the aesthetic resources, the land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between a proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. And then F option is there are similar projects visible within the following distance of the proposed project. And then it's 0 to 1/2 mile, 1/2 with 3 to 3 miles, 3 to 5, and then 5+ miles. And I just don't understand what that means. And it's not your fault. It's just.
Yeah, well,
But you checked, no other impact. That's
so. Yeah. I thought for like a quick yes for the section, right?
yes.
There is an impact on aesthetic resources.
And these ones we can check over.
What I believe I was trying to do without going back on me is that I clicked that there is an impact, I would call it low impact on the aesthetic resources. Because we've talked about
Right,
that shot right there, right in the middle. That is what will be visible if we didn't do anything. But as we presented in the drawings, we're going to be planting both evergreen and deciduous trees at that base right there. So we're doing our best to mitigate it. Now there's the potential for some visibility. I would also point out that we're proposing a project of approximately 115 acres, of which public visibility is going to be very limited. And so that's what that was my reasoning for saying low impact on that. Now, again, there's some visibility to private establishments in the east. I think the questions are tried to be geared more to the public.
Yeah.
But,
I can take this up just with somebody who knows more about the form, that I just don't understand what it means with a 5+ mile.
Yeah, can put ones in Asia and.
Yeah, it's really,
Makes no
there's one in
sense.
Ellis Hollow, so.
No, it sounded like, is there a solar array within 5 miles?
Right,
And there
right.
is,
It's,
down the road.
well, or 5 miles or beyond, right?
Yeah.
there's definitely those 5 miles beyond.
Yeah.
You answered it fine, I really, I shouldn't be taking up the
Yeah.
time, but it's just that I
It's
didn't
more miles
understand
around
that.
79, so it's like.
Sorry to have that aside.
What number was that in mind?
Number 9,
Nine.
Number 9.
aesthetic.
9F.
Will we be, so there's an addendum that, Distributor Sun has sent. And I want to thank you for that. I want to echo Greg's comments, that this is very helpful for the detail he went into and the reasoning that this is exactly what we need to be doing when we have a secret review. So thank you for setting the model for that. I have a couple of questions. So like, just for clarification.
Yeah,
for the most part.
That distract.
All right. So it says, under impact on land. And you say for the areas of the project with relatively shallow bedrock, the applicant will drill a pilot hole in advance of the ground screw with the technology designed for installation in bedrock. Finally, the slopes that are greater than 50% will have minimal physical interaction.
Yep.
Can you tell me what minimal physical interaction means?
So, we're not gonna be putting any, gravel pads or equipment pads on those areas. But per our design, we will be carrying forth the, approximately every 90 foot, those same, ground screws will be going in there. So, sometimes I think probably should have said minimal compared to, a full concrete pad build or road to be built up on there. So we're not building any roads or, concrete pads in there. And that was my comparator, I guess.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I get that. So under impacts on surface water, I did find your SWIP, all 353 pages, I'll tell you that. I have no idea what the hell's going on there. As I got past page 5 or 6, that was done. I'm hoping that there's somebody that can look that over and make sense out of it. And we need to have a stormwater officer looking at, you don't need to approve it as part of this, but it's good to know that it's in the system. But having said all that, your maps that you have show your mitigation plan for stormwater. And on map 8, it has this area for managing water. Looks like it's some kind of a little swale or something. Can you describe what's happening there?
So there's two major kinds of, obviously, there's several ways to manage stormwater as it's going off any site. Sort of the most obvious and visible ones are drainage ponds, whether wet or dry. Those are when you have a lot more impervious area and development that happens that you need to really slow it down so that your flow after construction is less than before. I'm sorry, I'm starting at one end of the spectrum and working our way back, right? What we've got are a lot of vegetative strips, which are basically, we put some underlying gravel and then we're gonna put it more to a sort of, I guess, for lack of better, like a meadow type situation, so that we have some drainage down into the ground, also some natural retardation of flow through just thicker vegetation than we would otherwise permit on other parts of our solar.
So that's what those areas are designated, the
Yeah.
stormwater management areas.
Yep.
Okay.
Vegetative strips.
So, speaking still on the surface water, whenever you get to a wetland, And I know that there's several that you're avoiding, this when I saw that, but there are some places where you're gonna be getting in to put screws in the ground. So if someone looked at that soil and to know that the piece of equipment that you use to drive the screw in can make it in those
Yeah,
wetlands?
yeah, so we've got, learned over the years, there's three ways you can define a wetland. It needs to meet three characteristics. One is just how much water's in there, what plants are growing, and I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the third, but
Soil type.
soil type, thank you. So the short answer is yes, right? We've got folks who have seen this review and they're comfortable because of the flexibility of the design of the screws, is that they can go through ground shale or what have you with the pilot hole. They can also get down deep below those wet spots. And one thing, that we as developers are comfortable talking about is that these are what's called isolated wetlands. So they're not wild and expansive and deep, sort of likely to be connected to underground resources as well.
Sure.
So we do not expect that wet area to continue indefinitely beyond sort of 7 or 8 feet.
So I know I didn't ask the question properly, but I'll try again.
Okay,
So whenever you go to drill in these areas, you take a piece of equipment,
yes,
because it doesn't sit very far from the hole. You're
correct.
not reaching out.
Right, oh, okay, so you're worried about the
standing-
actual,
You're
yeah,
standing in a wet area, I will
Yeah.
have to say that. I have wet areas on my property.
Yep.
Some of them I can drive through certain times of the year.
Yep.
And sometimes I can't drive through them the next year on that same month at all.
Yep.
So that's my question.
right. The best answer I have right now is that is gotta be called out to the contractor of, these are sort of the known wet areas and thou shalt be careful. I mean, to your point, if we get started in April and it's just dumping buckets on everybody, they'll sort of pretty quickly find out that they're gonna tear everything up to get to that point. They do need to wait for it to dry out. I think it's contractor coordination is the unfortunate.
So the choice is made by the contractor that he can get his equipment in and out.
Yes,
Do you know what they usually use?
it's sort of a tract. I was told it's about a 25 horsepower. I created a video a couple years ago of, I think the
Like a
tract-
Bobcat or something?
longer and bigger than a bucket. I call it maybe sort of the length of this table, and they've got a boom arm. They just drill it down, put the screw on top. It's
It's like an.
oil drilling type setup with the it's understood technology. They screw down and they screw on another pylon as needed, but
Yeah.
they don't have to go as deep as oil folks. There's probably only 1 or 2 pipes that end up being on top. So
This is a track machine.
it's a tracked machine. Yes, tracked machine. They can, do several hundred holes in a day, depending on how good the ground conditions are.
Moving right along to impact on agricultural resources. So you're talking about compaction of soil. And that whenever the site is decommissioned, that they'll be irrigated and so on, they're trying to bring things back to where they were. So the question I would have, or the suggestion I would make, is that when you're going down a row, because you're gonna be putting in screws, they're aligned.
Yep.
So your track machine is gonna be running up and down, and your truck with your, whatever is carrying the solar panels runs up the same, down that same pathway.
Mhm.
You don't say in here that you will irrigate that section, but I would think it would be good practice if the idea is to keep that soil viable, to irrigate those pathways once you're done, before you put your fence up or lock the door with fence.
So our approach is slightly different, right? The agricultural monitor is there at the beginning to make sure that any topsoil is treated correctly and returned in situ as necessary. And what we rely on for the decommissioning part at the end is, in order to bring it back to a more arable condition, right, is it can't be compacted. So part of the actual process recommended by Department of Ag and Markets is to scarify and just drag a one of those machines with the grooves at the back through to loosen up everything and go through that pattern that way, because I think frankly, irrigating at year 0 will have very low impact of what happens at year 25.
Yeah, this is not irrigating, this is irrigating.
Aerating, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes,
Actually, it will have quite a bit of effect because the water that hits that will actually be absorbed and not run off. So it does have significant impact to aerate the soil.
okay,
So so there's other statements in this here that I have some questions about, but one is that, you don't talk about agricultural activity that can take place on this site, but I see sheep on this poster up here. And I know that Cornell's working on vegetation and so on, that work on these sites, and I would love to see this project be open to agricultural uses on that site and not just wait until 35 years are up to make it become usable.
sure. So we have been using sheep on most, if not all, of our arrays. It's sort of, frankly, we're slightly hesitant to sign the contracts with sort of shepherds ahead of time and make that a part of our condition. We believe it to be, frankly, a lower cost of vegetation and site management. So that's why it's winning. It's just 15 years down the road, something happens to, the land market in New York City, Azerbaijan, wherever, that changes the economics of sheep. And pretty sure we cannot put cattle on there. There's definitely research in the Western states on all of the crops and plants that you can grow under there combined with irrigation. And a lot of that is based on the fact that the panels are actually cooling those things in those more difficult Western climates. So that is, I think, not climate appropriate for New York. Cattle are a challenge,
Cattle won't work. They like to rub on things.
Oh, yeah.
Those high necks at the bottom of our panels are pretty much going to crack it. So we support it, and I think going over to Dryden, seeing our arrays there, that's somewhat of hopefully a good faith ideal. We would like to. It's just if it becomes a condition, that's an added responsibility.
And I don't know if we're gonna say it's a condition, but I think if you were making a proposal to a town that's got an ag committee and just is ready to adopt an ag plan, and talking about agriculture and how you would encourage it on this parcel would be a really nice.
Yeah, and part of the lease is, our lease with our landowners is to offer them the first chance to even make it a local shepherding vegetation management situation that they have first.
Were you asking, Don, I mean, you alluded to it, Chet, but about vegetable or crop production?
Well, that could be, I think the project should be open to that. And I know that it's not part of the secret process, but this provides the opportunity for this conversation.
And yes, so Rob, we're still researching. Frankly, we're still researching crops about what would work in this climate.
So I'm going to suggest that under that same section 8, that there's a part of the sentence that gets removed. It says finding, given the current use of the land to produce hay for out of county dairy production, neither the town of Caroline nor town is going to receive extensive benefit from local crop production. And I would have to say that the town of Caroline and Tompkins County do receive benefit. I'm not sure it's extensive, but they do receive benefit from this parcel because it's always been a solar collector. It's always been collecting energy from the sun, putting it into the flora that then rots or gets taken off the ground, and it also is feeding the root system underneath. So I wouldn't say that it doesn't have a benefit to the county.
I think perhaps if I added the word economic, that might split out the environmental versus the financial. Or I could even be more
Yeah, I
direct.
wouldn't argue with
The
the-
financial
I wouldn't
is,
argue
is
that.
that, and sorry, that, yeah, it's your document, so you're welcome to strike it if you want, or
Sure.
perhaps as an alternate, add the word financial.
Can you give,
And I'm set. Thank you.
can you give us an update on where you're at with the threatened species, the harrier with DEC?
So
And how that, what length that process is?
I mean, that's gonna be it's sort of 3 to 4 month process. And the start of it is a harbinger of what's to come, is that we've been trying to get a pitch meeting into, business. A presentation into the DEC about, you know, the requirement for land that we need to treat in a certain way of, you know, no row crops, no sort of bushes or trees or weeds to be grown up in that, and you know, just regular open management for the birds. And you know, we've got an offer from the landowner to conserve his land in a particular way that meets those requirements to keep it for the lifetime of the project. And we're still in discussion with another one of the landowners to make sure that they can do that. There are alternates with the Grassland Bird Trust and we're also talking to the Finger Lakes Land Trust. Unfortunately, that's a bit of window dressing right now that I can't get to the DEC to say, here's our plan. We're gonna go execute and spend real money to lock down this conservation easement, which, you know, per their regs and all sorts of stuff is gotta be, a third party has to become involved, because in a previous project, in a previous way, I signed a lease with the landowner for another portion of their land to say, you're gonna keep that in hayland and pastureland to support owls. They did, but I think the DC sort of doesn't like the closeness of that with the developer sort of enforcing the conservation needs. So we're gonna need to bring in a third party, and so that's what I'm waiting. The DC's, here's our plan. We need to go spend money and bring in third parties. Please get the concept so we can go ahead. And unfortunately, I'm 3 weeks into waiting for a meeting to present that before I mean, we gotta go spend real money after that. Yeah, so 3 to 4 months is a reasonable case scenario.
Can I just offer an anecdote that you mentioned owls?
Short-eared owl,
Short-eared owls.
Osiophlemus.
So, yeah, I live right over the hill near there, and short-eared owls have been there over the past month or so, so very cool. Birds.
Yes, and another one, I believe, where it's state listed in New York, but it's still federally and nationwide. Prevalent elsewhere, just no longer, less so in New York. Both the short-eared owl and the northern area.
Anybody other questions, comments?
I did find one other note here. It was just really small.
Sure.
But going back. So I never received this in writing. But I did talk to a county planner about this project. And I know that you're spending over $5 million to upgrade the infrastructure of Lansing. And they thought that was a lot. And what I heard them say is they haven't seen that kind of outlay for any other project in Tompkins County. So I see by the smile on your face that you recognize that it is a lot.
It's
So
with the contingencies that they force us to hand over in addition, it's by far the most expensive that I've ever been involved with to actually tell my management we should still go forward with this project.
So the
projects
question,
are getting harder, it's getting much harder for us in the development community to find circuits that are able to support more distributed generation. My opinion is that the state is running out of capacity on both the distribution circuits and the transmission circuits, and more capacity is required right now. We're choosing to pay for the most expensive interconnection that I've ever been involved in, and part of the reason behind is why we've had 4 units that we're working to develop is that. If I don't remember if the project ahead of us actually got into the board, but there was another project several years ago that just was going to bring 1 5 megawatt system online.
Yeah.
It was never going to have a chance. It was going to be paying $5 million on a 5 megawatt project, which would have easily died.
so my follow-up question then, because you would be in a better position to assess than I would. With the infrastructure upgrades that you're planning on doing, does that allow for more solar systems of fairly significant size along this route?
So what we're upgrading is called a 34.5 kilovolt system on a distribution circuit, which is the largest that NYSEG has built. And one of the multi-million-dollar upgrades is swapping out the conductor from whatever it is right now to 477 aluminum wires. So that's one of our large upgrades. And I'll share that we actually had an interest to do 20 megawatts AC earlier on, and the increment to go from 17.5 to 20 really would have just killed us, right? It would have been not worth it.
Close to maxing that
So
system out.
we're long way. We're maxing that system out. I think the small residential will still safely coexist. And that's sub 50 kW. So small farmers and small houses will still be able to capitalize on that. But there's
That's because you would have had to spend more on upgrading.
that jump
Yeah.
in upgrades
Yeah.
to get from that 17.5 to 20
Okay.
was
Too much.
expensive people to.
So we can't put in an aluminum plant down the road.
If for some reason the aluminum smelter folks don't like coming into town, they would have a lot more money to just pay for their own upgrades.
Probably not happening. Okay. Yeah, I had questions about the bird stuff too, but done.
I didn't see anything else in part 2 or the explanations in part 2. What else?
So I'm gonna propose that we accept this addendum with one phrase removed. And that's on the number 8, impact and agricultural resources, and currently says, given the current use of land to produce hay for out-of-county dairy production, we strike the rest of that sentence. It says, neither the town of Caroline nor Town is going to receive extensive benefit from local crop production. And then continues on after that with the project builds in a state listed agricultural district and so on. So that's my proposal.
Is that on the page number?
Well, I probably
Maybe
made
it's
this,
4.
I think it's 4.
Page 4.
Okay.
It's right in the beginning of
Right,
findings.
yeah, it's the last bullet before 9 on page 4.
Yeah, section 8 says
Yeah.
finding.
All the headings correspond to the headings in the secret script too.
Yep.
It's very
Well done.
helpful.
I will second that.
Okay. All in favor?
I
Opposed? All right, so I guess if that's our draft 3, then that is our meeting deck.
Yep. Is that?
There's a resolution that I also
Oh, that's right.
drafted up that I hope
Yeah,
captures the review and process.
My only comment is the spelling of my name.
Just how it is.
So
We just
resolution,
lost one vote, but
But
you'll still pass. All right, well, why don't I just read through it, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Resolution of the review board, Town of Caroline providing a neg deck of environmental significance for project along 76th Road, AKA County Road 115. 416 acre solar photovoltaic plants. Whereas Caroline 076 Solar One
Yep.
LLC submitted a full environmental assessment form, part one of to the town review board and to the town of Caroline on September 16th, 2024, for 104 and 116 acre solar photovoltaic plant located along 76th Road, AKA County Road 115, whereas the project consists of civil and electrical work. Plan can construct and operate 3 5-megawatt solar photovoltaic plants and 1 2.5 megawatt solar photovoltaic plant. Civil works will include tree removal, construction of security fences, placement of access paths, installation of lattice structures to mount solar modules, and installation of electrical equipment pads. Electrical work will include internal wiring, installation of inverters, transformers, ancillary equipment to connect to the New York State and Electric and Gas Corporation electrical distribution networks. Project will also include subdivision of parcels 3-1-2.2, 3-1-3. Following agents coordination process, the board approved the resolution to declare itself as lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act process on October 1st, 2024. Whereas the board conducted a conscientious seeker review in accordance with regulations, completed forms part 2 and part 3 on December 3rd, 2024.
yeah, I think we're free cooking.
I know. Town Review Board of the Town of Caroline hereby provides a negative declaration of environmental significance for the project as presented. This resolution shall take effect immediately. And the votes, and put to a vote as follows. So we had well, I guess we already voted on the draft, so I guess we need to put this forward as a resolution. And do we have a second? Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, so carries unanimous. So that's neg deck. Discussion of subdivision. Reading more.
Have you submitted a subdivision application?
I got mine in for Mitchell, the B parcel, originally ending in 2.2, and I have 1-3 picked up the signed copy this evening. Or rolling through that, although I think I need to submit an update to this based on my discussion with Mr. Tavelli about how the lines actually go. So I could visually show everyone what's gonna occur right now with the understanding that we do need to update the maps. But I'll get on my surveyor tomorrow, but I can walk you through that really quick as we do that.
And then Bob made the point earlier, did you hear what he said?
I heard that, and that's also
That's
revision.
part of your
Yeah, that's
amendment,
something I need to
okay,
get
because that's an
fixed.
important point.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it as a minor subdivision. And
Okay.
I'll work with them to prove how that's presented. Should I
Yeah. Mhm.
skip? I'm just gonna mark this one all up so we see.
This is Mark Pitchell, Pichel, right?
Correct,
Because on here it's misspelled. I gotta get rid of that.
okay. All right, so one thing we have clarified with Mr. Tavelli is that there'll be a 25-foot, actually, yeah, we'll make it down here. We'll have a longer than 25-foot frontage right here. And then this area come along here out of his shed. And wherever this, I think this is the approximation of the eastern fence line on his property. So there'll be frontage, his house, and appurtenances will be separated out from the solar array. Then we're gonna have, this one will be 25-foot frontage. We're gonna carry that out along this way. And it will approximately hit the western fence of the solar array. Which is gonna, this is again, an approximation. This is as far. Sorry. It only comes here. And so these would be the eastern boundaries, fence as defined by fence lines, and I think we'll probably come even slightly east of the fence lines to give ourselves appropriate setbacks here. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 elements, but it's slightly wonky. But this part will still be connected to this part. That part will still be connected to that part. So there's one parcel, there's a second, and there's a third. So this is something I need to work with TG Miller as I frankly just kind of worked that out with Tony, the way he wanted. So that's something I gotta get TG Miller fixed. So that's that one. Similarly with Mr. Pitchell's property. A1, sorry, there is no, A1 is not related to him. So part of the complication that came around here, that, well, I just got to out it, like these notes here. TG Miller is stating that there's confusion on these parcels about when they were transferred. TG Miller is of the opinion that it's this way. It's actually Mr. Tavelli's land, and this way, it's actually Mr. Verrett and Kinsley. So these wouldn't actually be part of the Pitchell parcel, which would help eliminate some confusion there.
And that, are you saying that that's still to be what title
So-
search or something to figure it out, or? Is it figured
So as just to attempt to clean up, I've contacted the lawyer and say, there's fuzzy title here with some of your clients. As a courtesy to everyone, maybe, can you help to clean that up? So
There's a way to do
that,
it.
that came up as sort of aside. I hope it doesn't impact what we're doing, but for Mr. Pitchell's property, the ending in 2.2, there will be some modules in this area, but it will be all defined by this parcel. So we have frontage and some modules that exist here. These two entrances they will be the legal access, but not the practical access. Practically, we're going to go in through there and come across and use the existing farm lanes to get through this way. So we won't be cutting any new roads in these areas, although we will have some poles there, some poles closer there. So this parcel will come back here and connect in, where we're gonna have some solar panels in there that are offset from the property line there. Similarly, there will be a legal access coming back for the rest of there, so. Parcel B ending in 2.2 will only end up being, what is now one parcel will be 3.
Okay,
Similarly, what was one parcel for C will become 3.
and the reason for these strange shapes is related to the construction of
Yeah,
your
so
project.
if we were to bring the overlay of the solar panels on top of this, we'd have one of the interconnections fits in here. This one has an interconnection that fits here. This one has an interconnection that fits back there. So it's,
I see.
There's 4 projects.
there's 4 projects and they sort of had to be parceled out exactly so that there's 3 that host the 5 megawatts AC and the, or 2.5 megawatt AC one is right out there.
Fun.
It's a fun game to play when these are the constraints put on us. So,
Yeah, we've been dealing with subdivision and this is one that is unusual.
Your job seems like a headache.
you have no idea.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
But after it's all done and solar panels are a tenth of the size and, I mean, they can fit on our hats. And these are all decommissioned. These lots will be set up so that none of them are landlocked. They all have access.
Yes, they all have legal
So
access.
even if you don't have a road here, it's.
Somebody could put in.
Yeah, it will be
We won't have. to
expensive.
subdivide.
Yeah, no, yeah, everybody does have legal access to a public thoroughfare with a 25-foot frontage.
And those would be called bent flagpole lots.
Yes, bent flagpole lot, yes.
And are these, you say 25 space, at least 25?
At least 25.
That says, I
And the
mean,
width-
50.
So, you're right, that is different, so, sorry, that's 50. Yeah, that's 50. I said it had to be minimum 25 for them, they gave me extra.
Well, I was measuring on the scale and it came out to 25, but the mark is 50. 1 inch equals 2,000 feet, so they're about a quarter inch.
This one,
Here.
2,000. This one is 1 inch equals 200 feet. So if that's, what are we, that's a quarter inch?
I mean, the mark is 50 feet, so
Yeah,
that's.
so,
So that would be right.
yes. Thankfully,
Thank you.
the surveyor got the scale right.
Then I'll just mention again the issue of distribution of development units. It's gonna be, there's gonna be a lot of development units involved here because it's a lot of acreage.
Right.
So, I mean, it can just be apportioned simply by,
I will
It's-
talk. to
it's
my-
something that needs to be addressed. So
Okay.
that would
I'm
be
really hating these development units.
Yeah.
That was what we talked at the beginning of that house. If we had like, take out a property
Yeah.
like 30 acres, you have to divide by 3.
So
Just so we don't lose too much focus here, if there's other comments, questions, whatever we want to see as far as subdivision, while Chet's working on the revisions and updates for it, so that we can, because that's just another step that we need to get approved. If there's anything else, like.
They're leasing this land.
we are, yes, we are leasing the land.
So they're leasing the land to them. They're
Long-
not
long-term
selling to
lease.
them at this point.
Correct.
So the development units
but
it's being subdivided.
By subdividing,
by subdividing, okay.
there has
They're
to be. a discussion.
subdivided,
Yes, okay.
so that could be sold.
And they're building houses.
We are-
It was,
we just have to say, oh, there's 7 over here.
So these parcels that we're looking at here aren't currently parceled out yet. This is a plan for parceling it.
I think so.
the parcels that are on the map, let's say like parcel 1.
Parcel B5
Yeah.
doesn't exist yet.
Yes.
I'm asking.
No, no,
No.
Okay.
it will.
This is the plan.
This was their first plan that they're gonna
And now they're
revise.
gonna.
Okay.
At the end of the last meeting, when I was home, there was someone in the room and I couldn't tell who it was because I can't see the audience, who said something like, I like your zoning plan, but I don't like the fact that if somebody wants to take off a 1 acre parcel for their kid to build, then you have to have somebody like Tidelli, look at that Tidelli, take that out of
Ken Hammond.
the whole thing. And I think that's not actually true. And I didn't have a chance to, but I wanted to say that in terms of this, that will come up. Because if I owned 26 acres now and I wanted to give one of my nibblings a piece of it, I could say,
You talk about a 34.
here's this, and we would have to like have that line drawn, but I wouldn't have to do the rest of mine, because I could say, here it is, and there's one, and you get one development unit. You wouldn't have to do the whole, yeah,
But you'd have to have the survey.
you'd have to have the survey, but not of your entire property.
No, right.
Right, because somebody in the audience who was representing somebody else about,
They were
Well-
representing themselves.
he was representing himself, said that you have to do the whole property, and I just wanted us to understand that I don't think that's actually true.
Do you agree with that, Tom?
Speculation.
I think that we should do a distributed.
Sure.
And I think we should get into this.
Okay.
Yeah.
He buys on.
Okay.
All right, so are there any other questions or anything having to do with subdivision that we would like to see with whenever updated materials come? Take a picture of your drawing, make sure you get it.
Beautiful. It's like.
Is there anything else
Especially
you
the
need
permanent
from us
cross-out.
in terms of moving this along?
We're going through the discussion on subdivision here. Next would be going, I don't know how exactly you want to go through the special use permit or site plan review and special use permit process, but I think site plan review is a bit more defined by your zoning law, whereas the special use process, special use permit is all those technical design criteria as listed in the solar siting law, all the way through to decommissioning and everything in between about the 200-foot setbacks from non-participating properties. Those are our next steps, as I understand it. So I owe you guys a more accurate subdivision. I've got the applications that go with it. But then I'm just trying to understand how we want to get through that part next, whether that happens tonight or whether we get another meeting in December or.
Well,
or
yeah,
just.
yeah.
So I have a proposal for you. If you look at section 803 of the subdivision law, it tells you exactly what you need to submit.
Okay.
When you look at that, you're gonna find out some of the material is actually what you're gonna have to submit for the solar siting law and the zoning law.
Mhm.
So my suggestion would be to look at all three of them and put together your package. So and you should have a package for each one, or at least have the documents separated out so we know what we're looking for each one of those.
Mhm.
We can do them all together. We don't have to do them in some kind of a sequence.
Right. Yeah.
But if you want to know you have the subdivision before you go ahead and
No,
do something
no,
else, then we can do it in your order. But as far as the review board is concerned, we're gonna be looking at a lot of the same things
Yes,
for these three reviews.
so. Yes. Yes.
And we'll be waiting for that big package to show up at the
I
door.
think you've got a big portion of it already.
We do. So, and I would say rather than copying all that and sending it to us, just tell us what section we're looking at.
Mhm.
We can go find it.
So I really want to read 500 more pages about this. The
Uh,
character development is great.
don't-
No, it's for your shoulders.
You're already. For
The part
I
two.
guess a related procedural question to the board. So, Don, you made a point of saying that the public hearing today was for seeker. So subdivision also requires a public hearing. I think the solar law also requires a public hearing. If we feel like we have what we would, if we feel like we have a complete application for, say, both of those, subdivision and solar, how do you feel about combining, say, public hearing? I don't even know if that's, if we can legally do that,
So
but.
if we
we
can,
combine-
I'm fine, but I'm not sure that we can.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we could do them the same night, right after.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just
One-
do one
one-
right
Yeah,
after.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Our next meeting is January 14th, I think.
No, yeah.
Okay, so nothing more on subdivision, anything else on this project before?
Do you have any questions for us?
So I'm gonna get this updated and I guess. Yep, I believe I've submitted all the information to address elements in the site plan review law and the solar law. And obviously we've gone through seeker now. Is there any other material or other guidance I can provide to help January 14th be a targeted, full review for those three actions?
So you should look through the laws and make sure you've submitted everything
Okay.
that's required. And if for some reason you don't think you want, or it's necessary, you can apply for a waiver. But you need to do that in writing, and we need to accept it. But otherwise, you need to supply everything that's in the 3 laws.
But to his point, I would say we as the board should review those laws as well and try and highlight anything that we feel like we see as a,
That's true, yeah.
so ideally if we could do that.
Sorry, I also just wanted to clarify. I think the next meeting's on the 7th of January. First Tuesday, right?
We're meeting the
Yes,
first Tuesday?
first Tuesday.
Okay,
Yeah. Thanks, Justin.
thank you.
Not that you'll all be disappointed that I can't be there that night, but I can't.
I'm unsure of my attendance that night as well, but I'm unsure of my attendance that night.
Site plan.
And zoning.
Is that,
And
if,
zoning.
would you want to speak your meeting, Jay?
Do you need to have something done in January, or can I wait till early February?
I'm gonna pump Mark with a lot of information to make us ready for January. There's, I think as I mentioned at the top of this, there's expiring credits going. It would very much help us to be buttoned up into town well before March. Okay.
If there's nothing else, shall we move on to the Brown subdivision? So, well, I guess, is.
Mr. Brennan is here.
Yes, I'm here.
Would you like to do, I mean, I think you sort of said some last meeting, but would you like to do a short presentation or description or narrative on exactly what you're hoping to do for your projects? Don't have to, I'm just asking.
Okay, I mean, in general, a number of years ago, I read the vision plan for the town and agree with that. I inherited 100 acres of land from my parents, and There was a house that we had built there that I sold in the past, but, and part of the land went to the Shindagan Hollow Forest. 65 acres. A couple years ago, I put under a Finger Lakes Land Trust, and 15-acre square down at the corner of South Road and Downey Road. I was hoping to create like a little pocket neighborhood. And I think I was up there 2 years ago. I talked to Mark, and sometime after that, I talked to Craig on the phone. I did suggest at one point when the zoning laws were being formed that actually this area be included in the hamlet of Caroline Center, but I never got a response on that. So a year ago or so, I got a plan surveyed, and the building official, I think 4 building officials ago, approved 3 1-acre lots there. And then the zoning law came into being, so I changed that plan to be what I'm presenting to you tonight, which is to create, well, a total of 4 lots, so 3 new lots, and the remainder would be the 4th lot. I don't know, did you get copies of the recent survey?
Yes, we did. So, yeah, the recent survey, so there's 2 lots along South Road and 1 along one's on the corner of Downey Road. And then another one has road frontage on Downey Road.
Correct, yeah.
So there's on the, I don't know if you have the town website.
Revised subdivision number 3. Do you have that document?
I'm looking at.
That's it.
Oh, thanks.
We're looking revised number 3.
Yeah, revision number 3.
Mhm.
So. I think. We, I would say one of the things along the application that we haven't received is what's called a short environmental EAF assessment form. EAF. So we will need that, and
I'm sorry, what was that again?
called a short environmental assessment form.
That,
Short EAF.
so I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think that's something that we can do with Bob, maybe. Like I did the one for the Belials.
You can fill it out.
Yeah, we can fill it out and then present it to Craig for his review. And that was our goal, or our intention. So
It's not on our pen.
Okay.
it hasn't been done yet.
Yeah. Well, that, guess I didn't know that was legally possible, but okay. So you can fill it out. As long
Actually,
as the,
yeah, and Nan, our planner, says sometimes surveyors will actually fill out the part one during the survey, so I'm.
well, I just.
Where do I find that that's stated in the review package? Because I don't remember seeing that at all.
It's section 803 of subdivision law, point number 6. Section 803, subsection 6. Short environmental assessment form, R1, completed by the applicant.
I'm sorry, Don, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Okay.
Section 803 of the subdivision law, number 6, says a short environmental assessment form, SEAF.
Can we email it to them?
So it sounds like,
It's online, you can see that. Hold right up.
well, but are you offering to fill it out for him, or?
What do you think, Bob?
I can send it to him, a blank form, or I can fill it out. And
We
he
could-
can sign it.
It sounds like staff could send you a draft that you can review
Yeah.
for correctness and sign and send back to us to help expedite the process.
That would be fabulous.
And it seems like if we're missing the ag data statement too,
But
that
I
could,
don't know that we need it.
I thought we did for everything. Seems a little ridiculous, but we do.
I won't address the ridiculous part.
Oh, yeah. We're beyond that.
So this is what the section of law. It says submission evaluation. So any application for a special use permit for subdivision approval and so on. That would occur on a property within an agricultural district containing a farm operation, which this does not contain a farm operation.
Right.
Or on a property with boundaries within 500 feet of farm operation.
Right.
Located in an agricultural district shall include an agricultural data statement. I don't think this meets either one of those thresholds.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the second one, but probably.
Well, if it does, if that's the case, if it doesn't, then we do need,
Yeah. hold
if
on.
it's within 500 feet, we do need an exit.
So we'll check on that, great.
Yeah, and then you can get back to him, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
we'll let you know. We don't think it's needed though.
There's a couple other things wasn't there. Map showing order, or that's gonna be done.
So the most recent map does. Is that the one you got?
This is the number 3.
This one. I don't see that.
No,
Oh, man.
no, there's a,
I sent 2 applications. One was for the review and one was for the actual application for a minor subdivision.
Okay, there it is.
there's a,
It's on the one you sent.
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So then. Don't need to add data, how about the review, 239 review, we go.
That's, we have.
It's 239, we just need to send.
Mark, this is Brown, okay?
This is Brown.
This is Brown,
Brown.
There was another email.
Yeah, I remember that one.
this year.
So then I think we would have everything, so then next meeting, we could have a public hearing. If we choose to set it for next meeting. We have the materials that we can send to the county for 239 review, which hasn't been done yet, right?
They've done, it's in our packet,
Oh,
this one.
Does this need to go to the county? My impression was no.
It's, yes.
it's in change, it will change soon, but currently it's still required and they will expedite the review. And then we could go over this seeker, just like we did for Thomas Road tonight. We can go over pretty quickly after the public hearing. We get to part 1. Yeah, so I move that we set the public hearing for our next planning board meeting, which is January 7th.
Number 7.
I second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, great. And we'll go to seeker. All right, any other business?
Is there anything else that you need from me? I know that I'm supposed to provide you with a list of names of adjacent property owners, and I thank Jessica for helping me with that. I provided her with a list of parcels, but I didn't quite understand the map system, so I left the middle one number out, and she couldn't find the people, but I think I understand now how the maps work. So Jessica, which I really appreciate, said she would look up the names of the owners. It seems like it would be, I know it's a new process, but it would be great to have a little explanation of how to find those names to provide to you. Because all I can get is tax lot numbers.
I think from what I'm seeing on the survey, unless I've missed one, I think the survey actually has all of the owners of the adjacent properties listed
So
on
does
the
it
survey, so
include,
that should.
I'm sorry, does it include the owners across Downey Road?
No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
I mean, board
Okay.
can chime in, but I would not consider that adjacent.
Because there's a road.
Yeah, because of the roads in between,
Right.
but, that's just my opinion.
But if he's working with Jessica, he wants to supply it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's fine.
and, neighborliness.
yeah, and as long as you have the tax parcel number, those should be very easy to look up on the county site. So, yeah, if Jesse can help you with that, then that would be great. Otherwise, I don't think we need anything else, well, except that we will send you a draft of the environmental assessment form for you to review and sign. And look into the ag data statement, which is very simple, and we will also send you a draft of that if it's needed, but it may not be. And then we should be all set for the next meeting. That make sense?
All right. So timeline, if there's a public hearing and that goes okay,
Yeah, if the public, so the next meeting, we would do the public hearing, we would do a review of the environmental assessment. And if both of those go off without a hitch, then we should be able to approve the subdivision at that meeting as well.
1 in the morning.
okay, yeah. My wife's pointing out we'll be in Italy, so we're trying to obtain.
So if you send us a bottle of wine,
Well,
each, then I think we'll be all set.
is that legal?
Research from up the creek
Well,
and
thank-
Atlanticola, that would be fine
No.
too.
So we had a
Send you
very
some
similar.
porcini mushrooms.
That sounds good.
So we had a very similar subdivision review tonight for the Thomas Road project, and
Mhm.
they weren't here at all, and we went through it and approved the project just fine. So I don't see, unless you hear from us differently before the next meeting, I don't foresee any major hitches in the process. And it seems pretty straightforward to me, so the fact that you'd be in Italy, I think is fine.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well, I will do my best to chime in on the meeting then.
Sure, from what I know, it would be fine.
yeah. So, yeah, if you can make it work, great, but I would not stress too much about it.
All right. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Thanks, Craig.
All right, Hammond's, we set the public hearing for next week. Yeah, so we
Yes.
don't need to do anything else. Okay. Hammond subdivision, do we have anybody from
No,
that project here or online?
no,
No.
he's not here.
Okey-dokey.
But we're missing a ton of material. Matter of fact, I can't tell from the material that he submitted whether this is a lot line adjustment, which he says on the application, or whether it's a minor subdivision.
Oh, really? I didn't notice
So-
that.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
we have essentially nothing. From my perspective, we don't know what's going on.
Okay.
So,
Bob, do you have anything?
Well, yeah, I make copies of, well, I don't know if this is
have you
something.
communicated with them at all?
I haven't.
I think it's
No.
been Brian mainly. Let's talk to Mr. Hammond.
Just, okay, so, I mean, any
First,
insight,
lot line adjustment.
well, it says lot line adjustment and minor subdivision.
Yeah, got both of them checked.
Oh,
the last two pages.
Let's send your best. I don't think you can have both. Just saying.
right, it's true, you can't. So,
The last two pages really
Okay.
have the maps.
Okay,
now
I need over.
so there's two of the lots are along Blackman Hill Road. One lot is not along the road at all and is along a gravel drive. Subject to 5-foot wide right of way for driveway, see easement agreement. 5-foot wide right of way does not constitute a driveway.
No.
Nor legal access.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't get a fire truck down it.
Is that-
Yeah. If it's a shared driveway. But there still has to be agreement, it's more than 5 feet wide,
Show us.
yeah.
An agreement.
So that's, I mean, at least that's what I'm seeing from the survey map, there was, who was this?
Here it is.
Who's the surveyor? Oh, she.
See, it's not crazy.
Is that the map?
Yeah.
Maybe 5 feet is on this property and they have an easement 5 feet on the other side, which.
Oh, I see.
maybe 10 feet before.
Or the gravel drive has a 5-foot easement up to,
Oh,
To the
because
other
it's supposed to be something that could have a building on
Northeast.
Oh.
well, so.
So, 5 feet on this side, and if there is. an
Right,
easement
yeah.
on the other
So
side.
this is a situation where we could approve this subdivision. But the owner needs to be informed that lot 7A
Right,
currently does not meet the requirements for turning into a building lot.
So you can subdivide all
Meaning-
you want.
Right, like, sure, you can have a buried lot, I mean, but it's not buildable the way it is right now. And so I feel like that's a conversation that needs to be made, have that fact made clear to the,
It's not buildable, why?
It doesn't
it
have.
doesn't have an
access.
easement.
He doesn't-
Right away.
yeah, he doesn't have access. Right. He has no, even though there is an existing gravel drive, it's not clear to us that they have any right to it or that there's a shared easement for
Because
it.
it has to go down here to Blackman Hill Road.
And they have to show
And
that
they have to have an
Yeah.
easement there. Okay.
An easement to get to.
Right,
They're gonna have to see their attorney. to get that.
right.
Yeah, I mean,
And
They're
that,
cutting across somebody else's
and that any,
stuff to get to it.
and with a shared driveway situation
down
like
here,
that, it has to
wherever
be
this is
clear
going,
that everybody
I don't even know what
Somebody
that
else's
is.
land.
that has land along it has access for the fire truck to be able to get through, basically.
And he could cut off a bit of this and have a driveway that goes back.
But that's not what you should
But
probably-
it's not
yeah.
gonna work.
Right, he can make it into a flag lot.
Yeah.
Or something as well.
But that's not.
No,
But also, I think. To be honest, I haven't read the zoning that closely, but I'm sure there's a road frontage requirement.
yeah,
I don't remember what it is.
yeah, it's not much.
Okay,
10 foot setback.
10 foot setback.
no, but there's gotta be a road frontage
Road frontage.
amount, and it's 50 feet. Then like, even if it's a flag lot, it's gotta be a 50-foot strip essentially, or whatever it is.
Well, what's he trying to do? Divide these three?
Says the three total developments.
Allocated one unit. Oh, well, at least he's allocating units.
So what do we do today if we don't
I
know?
wish
He's
he
not
were
here, we don't know what he's
to talk
asking
us
for.
through it a little bit.
Right.
I think we just tell
Do
him,
you know where
we
this
just tell him
is?
this, that he's gotta have road frontage.
Fletcher Hill? Yeah. This lot here. has
Somewhere.
And a right of way to get to his own.
Right. Well, it's another Hammond who owns this, so.
Well, you could probably.
It's a Hammond, yeah.
It's the first I've done.
So this
Is
is,
this near the, like, that sharp turn and the other sharp turn that is like on the far end of Blackman Hill?
it's, this side of it. Yeah, it's not,
Legal easement.
that sharp turn is where you go down.
Right.
It's up from there. But, there is a property maintenance issue right there. That everybody knows about. So,
Where's that?
But what's your point?
well, I don't know, it's just interesting. I can't remember what all he was doing, but I think it was,
Well, but that's a different owner.
yeah, it is.
So, oh, and there's overflies. Huh.
I can't answer me one more.
Well, there's a lot that are labeled Hammond and some of them are different numbers. And so his statement says that there would be no more left of the tax parcel 12.21. No.
Yeah, because so there's basically four parcels then, the three that he's suggesting is the one at the right, further to the right, and then three new parcels.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. There.
Oh, 7A is to be consolidated with the adjacent lands of 12.21.
See, so
Oh, so it's not creating a dead parcel, it's
Well, that's-
consolidating it with the other.
Yeah.
but where
That's
did
not
he say
good.
that?
It says it at the bottom, it's
Yeah.
note number 2 in the bottom left corner.
It just looks like,
Oh, I see, here.
there's a straight.
Parcel
line
7
through it.
is consolidated with adjacent lands of
Yeah.
Hammond tax parcel.
So it's just separate, so really it's just separating out two parcels.
So it's gonna go to RO Hammond.
Why is there such a line there?
Yeah.
It looks like dividing the lot.
It could be that that's
Seems like surveyors may be intentionally confusing.
12.22. And now he's putting it first, two lots, but it would make to.
Yeah.
I don't think 12.22 has anything to do with it.
If this was already part of 12.22, now he's adding it to.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, it would have been separated, it would have been split by 12.21 here.
All of this. And now
Oh.
he's breaking this off. Putting it in.
We don't know, who's the original parcel, whether it's Q2 or Q1.
No, I think the original. Oh,
We just hadn't read the note.
yeah, I know.
It's just my.
I don't know what the original parcel
My brain
was.
doesn't really go into maps like this.
Yes,
Which we don't have.
Yeah.
it's,
We want to
Okay.
give him a list of all the things he needs, because it's extensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, that.
Yeah, I guess we better is right.
Yes.
Yeah, parcel 7A is being consolidated with adjacent lands of 2-1, so 7A looks like might have been part of 2-2 to begin with. It's consolidating it with 2-1. Is that?
This is off to you.
I think, you should tell us what he's
Yeah.
doing.
And if it was part of 2-2, would that make it two different subdivisions? If it's a different lot, it would be
Yeah, sure.
But he does tell the acreage of this lot, so that's what's.
Yeah.
And if he does do that, then why would he landlock? Well, he did.
It might not be landlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There better be a road over here, huh?
Yeah.
That just gravel.
It might.
close to-
We don't know.
Yeah, it could be,
And
that could be like
it's
60
some of
acres.
that-
We don't have any
Right.
idea.
Over here.
Gene, I think this was the project that the fellow said at the end, that he brought up.
Why do I do the whole thing?
Why do I have to survey the whole parcel?
Oh, it's because I don't think you do. But that was just, as I was leaving that meeting the other night, I heard that guy say that, and I thought, I want people in the community to understand that I don't see why you would have to, like, if you owned 100 acres of land and you decided you're gonna cut 10 acres off in this particular corner for a kid to have and give them 3 building lots or something with it,
Survey the 10.
you'd have to survey the 10, but
Right.
there's no reason you'd have to survey everything.
Right.
And
But you do have to indicate, I have 100 acres.
Yes.
It's that this many units and we are allocating whatever for
right,
that, this,
but you could use the tax maps you have.
right, yeah,
Right, the
yeah.
tax maps exist.
Typically, the surveyor has access to the surveying map that existed. They're just not going back and refining all the pits.
Exactly,
Right.
right. So that's sort of, I just wanted people to kind of grasp that, because I was like, I thought about that night and thought, I don't think that's true.
I've never had it done, but it seems like it must be expensive to have someone come out here and do this, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been spending money. We had 2 more trees fall down, $1,600.
Yeah,
It's like, yeah,
I don't have enough money to worry about surveyors.
I just feel like I spend money like.
You know, I wish I had enough money to worry about surveyors.
All right, so we're all in agreement that we really aren't gonna take any action on this project tonight. Next
No,
step,
except to tell him what he needs to get
yeah,
to us.
try and give him a list of.
And,
to see.
to see if what we now if what we now think is actually correct.
Well, but yeah.
Yeah.
So on this list of like
They need to tell us.
16 things that they need to supply, what I have is an application. A survey of what's proposed. A short EAF. A zoning ID. And a map showing all contiguous landowners. And an ag data statement.
Yeah.
He's got a lot, like a base map, existing conditions, proposed subdivision narrative. Contour lines.
Does he have to provide like a map that, like a sense of context for what this is sitting in?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know what the heck is going on around it.
That's the existing conditions.
Okay, yeah.
Don, do you mind writing up that list
I can just fill it in and send it.
for Bob?
Yep.
So that.
Well, here's the
We have the short form. Oh, you.
Yeah, we just gave us that.
Yeah.
And then just for my own notifications, if someone wants to come forward and do the permit application, they can't do a lot line adjustment and a subdivision at the same time.
So that, I would just say there's 2 different review processes.
Right.
So I would think you'd want to do them separate, and a lot line adjustment has no fee for that,
Right.
So I think we need 2 processes, but there's only 1 fee.
Would you say he needed that?
He needs everything that doesn't have an X on it. Which is 3/4 of the stuff.
Needs the ag thing.
Here's a short level assessment.
So he has
Yeah.
that. I just extended.
And it's got the agricultural data. Okay. Okay. It means a lot.
He needs a lot.
Other people are.
Yeah, most of it's pretty easy.
Is your address code?
Yeah. Most of it's pretty
This
easy.
is the.
Yes, sir.
His.
Have either the Brown or the Hammond subdivisions paid the fee?
Bob probably knows this one.
They're both paid.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, great. Thanks, Jess. I move to adjourn, unless anybody else has any other meeting.
It's a lovely
No,
idea.
no projects, but we have, there's a little note that was sent to us by the chair, said he doesn't want to chair any more meetings. I would think that we should have a discussion about that,
Right.
just so we come to the next meeting and know who's running it.
Do you not want to be chair or you don't want to chair the meetings?
It was more about the work in between. I just don't have, yeah, we're starting a new job and everything else, I
Yeah.
just don't have the
I
time.
would have to say that the amount of work to
But,
manage this thing is more than a volunteer should have
Yeah,
to deal
it
with.
is, and I can help with that. I
right,
do most of that.
so just the discussion in the last couple of days, if a lot of the work, a lot of the paperwork and communication type stuff is being shifted to Bob. Rather than me, then that changes things.
Yeah, so I mean, so. We are right in transition. Bob's been in
Right,
barely 2 weeks. Brian's still in till right before Christmas. So, and Bob's been getting his feet on the ground in the code office and getting familiar with everything. So, and, you know, I feel bad for not, you know, getting stuff. Like I realized, you know, crap, none of this stuff's on the website. We need to, so I feel bad for not getting that lined up before Thanksgiving. But anyway, I think I totally agree, you know, we can have a process where a week before the review board meeting, we, you know, we'll know, I mean, what I'm thinking, and, you know, I haven't discussed this with Jesse, but we pretty much know what the agenda is for the next meeting right now. Right?
right, except for other stuff that may come in, maybe, but otherwise, yeah.
But at least we
For
can
the most
have
part,
like
yeah,
a
yep.
skeleton agenda.
Yep.
And then a week before, you know. Whatever, we can touch base, Jesse can say, hey, I'm gonna send it to Mike, town announcements, anything to add, whatever,
Yep,
and
that'd be
boom,
great.
it's out there. I'm meeting with Mike Ledgate later this week to try to figure out how we can create some project buckets on the website
Yeah.
for the review board.
Right, great.
I don't know what the constraints are, but there appear to be constraints. And if the constraints are large, we'll get our web designer to pitch in and help us redesign it. So, those things are gonna happen. So anyway, I think with some simple, you know, attention to detail kind of things, we can make it less of a headache and
Yeah, okay.
more enjoyable.
I'd like to suggest, because anything that's coming in for site plan review or zoning requires 30 days. A notice for the board to
Right.
have the material to look at. So that's a month out.
30 days.
For subdivision, it's 15 days. So 15 days before the board meeting, we know what's gonna be, what we're gonna be reviewing. If anything comes in after that, we're not reviewing it. So. So
And-
that should be, we should know the agenda 2 weeks beforehand, what we're gonna be reviewing. And we should have full agenda, so what we're gonna be reviewing, so that we can do our job of reviewing. The shit that comes in 2 days or a week before doesn't get a fair review. And the decisions we're making are just as important as the one the town board makes. We're taking the same liability on for the town as the town board takes. So we shouldn't be playing around here.
And I think the biggest thing has been clear communication then with the applicants of.
Yeah.
If they're submitting something a week ahead of the board, or some of this stuff, I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
3 days ago.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's totally
Setting
appreciate that, this
expectations.
is great.
Yeah.
This is not gonna make it on the next
Because to-
agenda,
to
you
a-
need to submit
to a
this
normal
earlier,
person, a
so
week-
we'll put it on the following month's agenda.
A week seems like it might be enough, but if you explain to someone what the process is, that they'll be on next month's. you know.
Right.
Right,
A week is enough in the normal world, but it's not for local government.
and I think it's pretty clear on the website, at least I thought it was. On the review board website, that it says, you have to submit materials.
Yeah, it
a
does.
month ahead of time. So, you would think they would be seeing that, and to be honest, I'm on the other side of the table for work. A lot, and I know. I know all those deadlines, but I also understand that. Not all. Citizens in this town have design professionals that are helping them through the process. They just don't understand what's going on. And so
That's right.
unfortunately, I mean, yeah, so unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. It's gonna mean a lot more communication on your part, because you're the one that they're.
I'm used to that, telling people, you're not gonna have it done next week.
Right, okay,
Yeah, you have to wait for the next month.
right,
But, so the review material you want, and Mark told me to be prepared, because when I did this for the city of Portland, I would put together my packet. They would get their packet with all the materials like 2 weeks before. But then I would submit my notes with my analysis and the relevant code, about 5 days before. I tried to hit it on the weekend, so they could read it really ready for Monday. So,
great.
effort.
Yeah,
It's good to have cliff notes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if you send them out in the beginning, that's all we're gonna look at, so I have no problem with that process.
Yeah.
And Bob, I wanna just say that my criticisms of the process are not reflective of you at all. So I don't wanna set
Not
clear
taking it
expectations going forward.
We're just, I'm getting
yeah,
getting situated here, so.
And we can make, like. For subdivision review, Groton, Town of Groton has a really. I don't know, I like it, it's got colors and stuff, and it's.
Colors.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It explains to the applicants what they need to do, so you,
But you have to color code stuff.
when you get your approved
I taught high school.
subdivision, your survey map, it's your responsibility to submit that to the clerk's office and to the county clerk's office.
Right.
And so I think we can just provide clarity about that. So
Copy their website.
that's what happened with Mr. Brown. He had a signed survey and he took it, and it's got it in a file somewhere. Nobody else has it, so
right.
he didn't.
Well, and
He wasn't told, so.
And subdivisions are one of those fairly simple things that they don't, besides the surveyor, they may not have anybody that they're working with,
Yeah,
on a professional side, so they're
Yeah.
gonna be going through the process themselves, and that's something that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point, we should try and make it as simple and straightforward for them as possible.
So Craig, would you be okay with continuing as chair until January or February and seeing how you're doing?
Yeah.
Great,
Yeah, with these changes.
Okay.
You get better.
Yeah,
and then
totally.
if it's not better, we'll figure it out.
So Craig's like George Washington, he keeps trying to give up power, and we keep telling him no, we keep dragging him back.
But George did insist on not running for a third term, so,
Well,
that's how it is.
We'll see. I don't know, take care.
When is it up? Yeah, no, all those changes sound great, that would be very helpful. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So I know the hour's getting late and I don't wanna add this to tonight's agenda, but there's a comment that was made tonight
Are you gonna
about,
add something to the agenda?
yes. I'm thinking for 2 months from now when I'm gonna be here. But we did talk tonight about when somebody comes forward with a subdivision, that they have to determine the development units forever and ever.
Right,
I have to say, if that's the expectation, we have to rewrite the law, that's complete bullshit. Because there's no way that the person who wants to cut off 10 acres to give to their kids is gonna know
Right.
what their kids wanna do with that lot and what they're gonna do with the rest of the lot. They couldn't possibly know because they're probably gonna die and sell that lot off, and the next person is gonna have their own ideas. So we have to somehow change this law so that you're only dealing with what you're dealing with. And that the town can keep this record of what the lot was originally and what's been cut off and say, so this is how you're limited. Because you've already got 2 subdivisions going on here, and this is how many you get on this parcel. So you have, this is what's left, and that's what you have to deal with. But we can't be asking.
it
So
is,
no,
it is sort of what it says.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, Gene.
Because it's limited to 3 acres. So, but you could right now say, here's 10 acres and you only get 1.
Yeah,
So that's the issue that you're
So
bringing up.
let's say somebody has, okay, a big lot, 20 acres. So, they want to divide it into 2 10-acre parcels. So they say, okay, I'm gonna assign 3 development units to each lot. And, you know, they have to decide something. They're both their lots. And they're gonna give them to Amy and Brett, their kids or whatever.
Doesn't it seem weird? Say they don't fully understand what they're doing and they allocate one development unit to the 10-acre lot that they're breaking off for their
Right.
kid. Because they don't understand. Oh, they might build a house. Yeah, that's not a development. So then you've got a 10-acre lot that can literally only have
One house. on it.
one house on it. That somebody their kid inherits it and they're like, I've got 10 acres and you're telling me I can only put one house?
Because
on
my
this
mom
10
did this when she
acres?
was 80.
Right. One of the things that's very clear in the zoning law is to say, we realize this has to be revisited. Because things will come up that did not make sense. So, we're basically, I think, the town board is asking all of the committees to come back and say what have you run into? After 18 months or 2 years, so that it can be rewritten.
But in this, I will offer, a counterpoint that, if you had Bill and the other members of the zoning commission here, that was the discussion about how to retain variability in lot sizes going forward. So you may not like it, but that was the explicit thinking of the zoning commission.
It was.
And we haven't even tried it yet. We haven't even had one subdivision assign development units yet, except maybe for the Belials. So I would say, I agree with Jean that both subdivision law and the zoning law and any other law, we're gonna revise them in the future, but let's give it a chance and see how it goes.
So I would have to say that having the town enforce deed restrictions is not a good place to be. I think that we should be requesting each person that comes forward with a subdivision to show us in their deed how many subdivisions are allowed to do a deed restriction. Then, when the person buys that lot, because they don't know the town of Caroline's law, they're moving in from New York City because they've had enough of living in apartments. They come here and they buy this 10-acre lot. They don't know that they can only build one house on it because the deed restriction doesn't say that. If it said in the deed restriction that they can only build there's only one building unit on this lot, then they know what they're getting.
I assume it has to, the
It
deed
would,
restriction.
wouldn't it be recorded in the attorney when they do review, search the title? That would go into like with the meets and
Exactly.
bounds and say, it'd be like an easement's recorded. And it would say, you
Right.
can only build it, this is why.
Yeah, it has to, doesn't it? I mean, I'm
think so.
assuming that
I'm
must be
assuming
written.
that too.
If they
Okay.
bought it, the real estate agents, their attorney's supposed to search the title and say, oh, by the way, before you buy this, you can only put
Right.
one house on it. So they should know going into it.
Yeah.
What they could do.
There was a large land subdivision that happened right where we're looking tonight.
Just to the south,
But
just to the south of the solar project or something.
it's near the solar project. And those properties, those were, I believe, the company at the bottom sold those as there will only be one house on these lots, and they're 15, 25. They're big lots, a lot of them, 15 acres, yeah, so.
And that's the way they are now.
Yeah.
They're grandfathered in them.
That's interesting because they clearly had the ability to have more because,
They did.
but they,
Well, they did that before the zoning was passed.
they
Under
did it
the large-
before the zoning.
Under the large.
So now
lot.
they can divide
Whatever
it
you
all
call
they
it.
want. Each one can be divided up now,
He's saying.
because they did it before we adopted zoning. law.
But it was-
So that's subdivision.
Unless it's in
What
the
I-
deed.
No, but what I'm
Unless it's in
saying
the
is,
deed, he's saying it's in the deed.
Oh, it's in the deed.
Yeah, if you look at the lots that were sold, it says, they're restricted to a single residence on each property, regardless of how big it is.
The idea, when you say to keep it, the variability, the idea being that we don't want to have a town that's just got like a bunch of tiny lots that are all
Yeah.
homogeneous, is that the idea?
A monoculture, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have a good point. I
Is
think
that
we
right,
just have to
Jean?
sort of see
That-
how it goes. Yeah, exactly. We we didn't want to say you have to have three. You
Right.
have a 3 acre lot,
Or
I
just
mean, like-
have 100 3-acre lots all over the place.
Right.
right? I mean, I think several of us fought clearly saying some people can only afford to put a mobile home on a 1 acre lot. That's just the reality.
Mhm.
Yeah, so let's be real. But we also do allow, grandma homes on lots as
Oh,
well.
we love grandmas.
Love them.
AD, like an ADU.
Yeah,
Caroline loves grandmas.
What's an ADU?
Accessory dwelling.
Yeah, my head's not-
So it'd be, you have a primary home and then you have accessory dwelling.
A tiny house nearby.
a tiny house.
Which is, yeah,
Hopefully
usually less
all
than
moves in.
50% size of the
Yeah.
primary home, but I don't know if that's necessarily says.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
My mom.
Explain it to me
just
again.
So excited.
You only have so many buildings left, like
But
say I got
you'd
100.
like to put it on other people's.
How many
homes,
buildings?
right?
I'd like to put it in Florida.
100 divided by 3.
So you have 33 units, so you can divide.
33.
That's what I'm saying, she said that you don't have to have 3 acres.
No,
Right,
they just have to average.
average.
exactly.
You could have the.
So you can have 33 units
So the most
on 30
right,
acres.
Right. Gotcha.
And then, or 32 units on 30
Right.
acres and the rest, the other 70 acres can only have one house.
Right.
Or something,
Maybe,
Right.
does that
Something like
average
that.
work out?
Which is good.
You could,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, we tried to make it so that you could build, Boyceville County.
right, so you can build Boiseville as long as you have another large parcel of acres that's undeveloped.
Is that where the painting, the color painter?
It doesn't have to be the colors. I just went over and saw the one in Freeville. I like the houses better, actually. The roofs have a bit of a,
Yeah, and Swedish.
yeah, something going on. It's very cute.
So I can really understand the flexibility that you try to build into the home. I would just have to say that someone that's trying to sell land that doesn't really have any idea about development and so on, this is a big.
It is. It is. You have to,
You got a lot of education.
yeah.
And it would seem very frustrating, I think, especially if you inherit it from your mom who knows even less about it. And she made a choice or something. I could see how it would be frustrating, but.
I can say that everybody with time experience, I've mentioned that we have conservation subdivisions too,
Right.
which has done nothing but want us. Absolutely no reservations about it at all. I have 2 people on the regional local zoning boards asked me when we were doing some, if we were going to have
Conservation subdivisions, yeah.
So it might initially appear to be confusing, but this is really a very forward-looking conservation approach. And we will figure out how to manage it.
Yeah.
I mean, we all realize that there are quirks in the system. And that we got to figure out the quirks, but in many of these cases, once we do it once, it's gonna really be very manageable.
Mhm.
It's just get it on. And also for people to understand what it is.
Right.
Yeah, other boards, on review, we realize that it's an initially a really big lift to.
Heck, our spouses don't understand it.
Yeah.
We went home and took
I
trouble
was
with it,
on the
right?
zoning commission, I'm still.
Very polite.
I would go home and say this to my husband and he'd be like, what? And then he would say, go take care of this.
Okay, you're figuring it. I learned what plat was 6 months ago, so. So can we move to adjourn?
Yes. maybe-
Yeah, I move to adjourn.
I second.
Great.
All in favor?
Oh, yeah, over that, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
If there's not somebody.
Bob.
Yeah.